Types of native advertising. According to IAB Spain's classification, there are two types of native advertising in digital environments. First one, open, consists in promoting the same content on various platforms or pages that share the same topic. This type of advertising shared on various platforms at once is possible thanks to informatics systems such as Taboola or Outbrain. Second one is closed, as opposed to open advertising, that the form of native advertising is one which is published by a specific page or environment and is formatted according to the style of the environment itself. Like, for example, a post on a specific blog or an advertising message on social media network, such as Twitter or Facebook. According to the classification established by IAB USA in their recent guide, Native Advertising Playbook, native advertising can be divided into 6 different types. First, advertisements integrated in the editorial content. All content which includes a sponsored message and which are perfectly integrated into the environment, following its format and style. These integrated advertisements can be of 3 kinds. On one note, we can find content which has been created by the advertisers themselves and by the editors. These types of messages blend in perfectly, as if it were a piece of content of the website like any other. Aesthetically, they comply with the format and style of what's around them, which allows them to go unnoticed. These ads allow users to interact with them normally without having to leave the page nor interrupt their navigation. Second, advertisements on search engines. The most popular search engines among us users, such as Google or Yahoo, allow users to highlight their links in the results obtained by the user's search. These sponsored links, which come with a disclaimer that identifies the brand or page, appear at the top of the page of results, just above the naturally obtained links. 3. Recommendation widgets. As opposed to the others, these advertisements do not adopt the format of the rest of the content of the page, even though they blend in and contain something that sets them apart, such as "Don't miss this" or "We recommend." Some of the recommendation widgets most used by advertisers are Taboola or Outbrain. 4. Promoted lists. In this case, the advertised messages integrate and blend in perfectly with the rest of the page's content. In other words, they are presented identically to the other products that can be found on the page. Amazon would be the best example of a page that uses the promoted lists of include objects with link which direct to the brand's page. 5. Standard advertisements integrated with native advertising. These types of announcements are found outside of the editorial area of the page and do not share the format of the rest of the content. Instead, they present themselves as an ad similar to display, even though it is set apart from the rest of the page by identifying label. Furthermore, these advertisements are linked and redirect to a page external to the advertiser itself. 6. Tailored native advertising. This is beyond measure of a doubt the most creative form of branded content. In contrast to the formats mentioned and explained above, this one is agreed on and created by the editorial teams of the environment and the advertiser. It can take on many creative shapes and types, allowing for total creative freedom. Native advertising. How to start a campaign. We have spent some time talking about native advertising. Explain what it is and its benefits. Actually, it is advertising for those who are not lovers of advertising, to seduce the audience most resistant to influence from direct mail. Here, I will speak in detail how you can start a native advertising campaign. It starts with the correct definition of what the target audience is and ends with the performing the management of expectations well. Defining and deeply knowing our target audience is essential for the content advertising to be effective. Only in this way we can reel off what their interests are and create content that really provide them and a value and help us differentiate ourselves from our competition. Pay special attention when creating content. Once we have a clear definition of our audience, we create content that perfectly suits that audience. Remember that our main goal is not to promote the benefits of our product or service, but separate us from the competition by offering a value of utility. Therefore, the content that we believe to be related to our environment and still be useful to the user, for example, if we are an airline, instead of repeating once again our offers, could talk about our destinations and give tips to users. We also take care of the design and choice of images to enhance the user experience on the tour. Finally, work on the composition and position of the CTAs, as are those who help us achieve our ultimate goal. Periodically analyze. The analysis is the foundation of any successful strategy. The main metrics to measure are the number of visitors received in each of the content, click-through rates and bounce rates they present. Only with this data, we can obtain valuable information about which content generates more interest and, instead, what content does not provide any added value to our audience. We must also be attentive to repeated patterns in the source of traffic. Where do most of our readers come from? On the seasonality of our visits, do we get more traffic one day or month of the year in particular? React if necessary. The purpose of conducting a comprehensive analysis of the results is not merely informative, but we have to help find errors or areas for improvement in our campaign. Once you detect the weak spots, try to find the reasons, react as soon as possible, and reanalyze the improvements, and do so continuously. Do we observe that one of our content has a bounce rate that is too high? Perhaps we should improve the content, present it in a way that does not create many expectations, or delete it directly. Is this the right choice? Test, analyze, and react. Properly manage expectations. Orientating a native advertising campaign or advertising content to a sales target is probably one of the worst mistakes we can make. We should note that this is a slow process and that the goal in these cases is to be useful to the user and to inject such value. As will the need arises, they will think of us as the first choice. That is, it is a mistake to measure the results on sales or leads generated, but must also take into account the benefits we are reporting to the market in terms of their reputation, occurrences of our recommended content, and the growth of direct searches we will experience in the medium or long term. 6 tips to create titles that attract in a native advertising campaign. It isn't new when we say that given the current situation of the most traditionally formats of online marketing, the native advertising, and more specifically the content advertising, is positioned as one of the methods with more growth for qualified site traffic. The user is bored with being interrupted and impacted with offers, and now expects a slower process in which the brand offers added value through content. So much so that the clicks generated to root content are 5 times more likely to end in conversion. While it is necessary to develop a comprehensive content advertising strategy which includes everything from the featured content to the line graph or sites in which it is displayed, working on the title is crucial to the success of the campaign. And you wonder why this is so important? In these types of campaigns, the title is usually the first online interaction between users and the brand. The title is therefore the first and perhaps the only chance to attract the attention of your target audience. Here we give you 6 tips when creating attractive headlines that can attract the traffic you expect to your site. The title is best short, simple, and direct. The title must arouse the reader's attention, so we must create it concise and clear enough so that the reader would want to continue reading. If we extend or use too complicated puns, we can distract the reader and cause the opposite effect. Do not deceive the user, but highlight the benefits. A misleading title may help you get a good CTR, But if after the reader doesn't find what they were expecting, this may impair the reputation of the brand. In contrast, the benefits that the user can get from reading your content are positive. Numbered lists obtain better click ratios. A list has the advantage of describing very concisely what you are going to find and what the length of the content you're clicking will be. As an example, the headline, "The 10 Places You Can Not Miss If You Go to Paris with Children," got a 75% CTR over the headline, "What to Visit in Paris If You Go with Children." Try to use specific words. If we want the title to be concise and explanatory enough, you have to do all that is needed to work on it. Don't always use the same puns and the use of generic words like things. To create urgency and necessity in perspective is positive, including a touch of urgency and or necessity. Expressions like "only 15 minutes," "must," "you have to see," helps to intrigue you, the user, and enhance the rate of clicks. Still, do not abuse this resource since the user is looking for the information utility that provides added value, but not universal and unchanging laws. Thus, the use of terms such as "everything you need to know" or "incredible" show a CTR between 24% and 44% lower than items that do not contain them. While these tips may be helpful to create a catchy title and attract users, do not forget that each sector is different and each target can respond to some or other stimuli. Therefore, it is essential to analyze periodically the most relevant metrics: CTR, time of visit, bounce rate, and make all changes and tests necessary for finding the most appropriate title.